Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video, and it is time for more science. Everybody loves science, including myself. That's a freaking straight up lie. No, I don't know. Off topic, whatever. Anyways, the goal of today's video is to do a damage test comparison between the three primary blue damage stackers. So we have the new Diablo, right? He stacks, he uses, buffs blues, gives us skill cap, and also lowers ult resistance down by 15% every time. Milam is, buffing blues, raising skill cap, and buffing water attack. And then there's Shuna, who is doing the first two, and then buffing stun strike and pierce power. So we're going to do a comparison test today between the power and effectiveness of Milam versus Shuna versus Diablo using this set team. So Hinata, yes, is a water and magic unit. So obviously she's going to benefit the most from the natural buffs that Water Milam's going to give her. So we do have to take that into account a little bit. Because Shuna's buffing magic but not water, and then Diablo is not buffing Hinata at all, because she's not a Font of Wisdom, and she's not a Primal Demon. We are going into Predator battle, so it is not a water unit, so we don't have that damage buff even if we wanted it. So there is some give and take. Obviously, like, Milam was 100, Diablo is 104, quote unquote, right? And then Shuna is 84. So there is some discrepancies, and there's some gray area where numbers will not totally match up, but it's as unbiased as I can get without having everybody at 100, right? Sorry. So this is what we're going to use. We're going to nuke with Hinata using the Pierce and ult resistance down here, the crit, magic attack, and water, the ult buff, water resistance, and then her own attack and ult buff. We're going to do 6 stacks of whatever the person does. So 6 stacks of water attack, 6 stacks of the pierce power stun strike, and 6 stacks of the ult resistance down, and we will do a comparison and see how much the damage on Hinata fluctuates between 3. So Milam does have a water charm on. We will make sure to have that on all 3 of the protectors to make it fair as possible, right? We will not be using any of Hinata's additional ult stacks, so it's just going to be the straight up 70% ult right here, and that is it. Otherwise, this team comp will not change. It is only the protectors that are changing. And the Water Milam down here in support, she will remain as well. So with that out of the way, let's get started into our first nuking test, which is going to be using Milam. Alright, so first test, we are ready to nuke. We have 6 stacks of Milam. We've used all of the possible buffs on this team to put on Hinata. We've used the water buff, we've used the crit and magic, we've used her own attack and crit damage, we've used the pierce and ult resistance down, and we've also used the ult buff, which also lowers water resistance as well. So this will be, the first start. Now keep in mind that Milam is also, buffing Hinata by, magic damage and water damage, or water attack, just because she's the protector. So the numbers have a little bit of variation because obviously, like, Shuna is not buffing water, and Diablo isn't buffing anything on Hinata actually. So we'll just have to keep that in mind as we're doing the tests, and maybe make a little adjustments to who does how much damage and if it's a fair comparison or not. But let's go ahead and test out this first damage right here on the nuke. 6 stacks does... we don't have to watch that. 326,000 damage. So that's going to be our baseline. So now let's come back with Protector Shuna now, because we can stun and we can pierce. So we can still do the same test. So we'll get 6 stacks of Shuna and then compare how much damage Hinata does then. Alright, back for our second part of the test. So now we are using Protector Shuna and stacking up the pierce power and the stun strike. So Raphael is still here because he can help accomplish both those things. We've got 6 stacks of Shuna on Hinata right now, so pierce power and stun strike. Now, one thing to keep note is that obviously my Shuna is not 100, like my Water Milam. So there's going to be an inherent difference in stats right there that we have to account for. And then also, Shuna is buffing, what, Magic and Light, right? So we're getting a Magic buff, but not as much. But we're not getting like the extra water buff that Milam is getting. So there's the basic stat difference, there's the protection difference. And Water Milam, Bikini Milam had a charm on for water damage, so I made sure to put that on Shuna as well. So she also has a water charm. So I guess we click Hinata. There's the water attack 7% for charm. So I made sure to carry that over. So I mean, this is not going to be a perfect 1-to-1 test, but it's about as close as we're ever going to get. So let's see how much damage. Our first one, we did how much? 326k, I believe, is how much we did. Yes. All right. So we're looking for 326 or higher with this setup. I'm pretty sure it'll be higher because we're stacking, double effects. So what do we get? 522,000 damage. So definitely a lot higher. So now let's bring in the new Diablo, and he is going to stack the alt resistance down on the spider, and that is it. And he's also giving us 30 points instead of 40. So let's come back and then let's get ready for that test as well. Alright, we are here for the final part of the test. We have 6 stacks of Diablo on the spider, so we've got 90% right there. We also have the 50% debuff that comes from Raphael, so technically it's 140% alt resistance down. And then we have all of the major buffs from the rest of the water team. We've got the alt, we've got her attack, we've got then the 2 Xion buffs. So, I don't actually know how this is going to compare. I'm fairly certain that we're going to do more damage than Milam does, but I don't know if we're going to hit the same number that we did with Shuna, which is 522k. I made sure again to carry over the water attack charm on the Diablo so we can keep that constant. Diablo is also not buffing Hinata by any means except for basic stats, right? We're not getting any additional magic damage, not getting any additional water damage because Hinata is not on Primal Demons or the Font of Wisdom. So this is just like raw Diablo stats and then everything that we've put on Milam, so, not Milam, but Hinata. So can we hit 522k? Might be a stretch, but let's try it out. We hit 320k. So actually, is that less than Milam? 320k? No, because what do we get with Milam? 326? So we actually we hit less than Milam, which is actually quite surprising. But again, we got to take into consideration that Diablo is not buffing Hinata at all, not even by magic damage. Diablo is technically a 104 protector because he's an EX unit, so his stats are higher than what Milam and definitely what Shuna was, but Shuna still allows to hit harder because she is double stacking effects. So, what can we take away from this test other than it waste of my time? It's not actually a waste of time, but obviously the double stacking of Shuna is going to be much more efficient for damage if you can stun, right? If you can stun, then you can take advantage of the double stack. If you can't, though, and you're really only stacking Pierce Power, it's not as effective. Milam, is still buffing the water damage, and then Diablo is, lowering the alt resistance, but as we can see, it's not as effective, especially when the unit doesn't fall under one of his categories. Now, if this was like Rimuru, and this is a water unit or water spider, and we had like all of that active, he would have hit dumb numbers probably. And we had like his EX alt, we would have done much higher damage numbers. But as for a baseline test using a solitary nuker who is relatively neutral, we can take away that Diablo is good, but he's meant to be run with his category and not other things. He can still be competent, like alt resistance down is still a very, very strong thing. But if you have the ability to stack with Shuna or Milam, then it's probably better for you. Or Veldora, technically you can, it'll be a little bit slower. But okay. I mean, the science is now in a video, so at least we can say that I did a video test comparing the three, primary stackers. I mean, we could put, Veldora in here too, Magic Veldora, get the 70% magic buff from him. But that would clash with the, I think, 10% that Xion gives on her crit buff, which 10% versus 70, come on now. I mean, we could do that for funsies and then just see it done. Let's do it. Let's do stupid things. Hold on. All right, I tried to do the Veldora test because we weren't running Isis or Green Orb Changers. We were not gonna ever get enough points to actually use that many skills to stack them up to 70%. So I just abandoned it. So we got the three primary blue stackers, right? We got Milam, we got Shuna, and we got the new Diablo. And under perfect circumstances where you are able to stun, Shuna does the most damage. Outside of that, using the same team comparing the Diablo to the Milam, Milam still did a tiny bit more damage there. So, that is the truth. But, if you have Milam, or you don't have Milam, you have Diablo, but you don't have a water team, right? Because Milam is obviously stacking only water attack. And you need just a very generic stacker who doesn't care what typing you are for the most part. Then Diablo can work. He can work. But again, you want to run them in optimal scenarios. You want to run Milam with Hinata. You want to run Raphael with Shuna. You want to run a Font of Wisdom character who's fighting a water unit with Diablo. So, there are give and take scenarios out of this, but we can at least say that we did the test. So let me know what you guys think. I know this is 100% completely useless, but, it took up some of your time, right? And that's all I can ask for. That's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you guys later.